Today we're working in Chapter 2, Lesson 8, Solving Percent Problems. We are in numbers 1 and 2 using a double number line to find a missing number. So number 1, 63 is 90% of what number? So first of all, when we see the 90%, we'll go ahead and make one of our number lines a percentage number line. So this is 0%, this is 100%. For me, I like to find the middle. So my tick marks are somewhat in equal intervals, and then try to get my 4 in between. So 10, 20, 30, 40, and then 60, 70, 80, 90. And they don't have to be perfect, but try to line them up the best you can. Go ahead and label those. Those are a little squished in there, but you can label every other one if you prefer, so it's not so crowded. And then my number line underneath, I know that the 90% is going to line up with the number 63, and 0 is going to line up with 0. And then I'll just go ahead and mark the rest of the hash marks or tick marks. And just do your best to line them up. I just keep a little index card in my math book. But you can also just eyeball it. All right, and then I know that in my problem, they tell me this 63 is 90% of a certain number, and I want to find out what that number is. So I'm going to go ahead to my 90% and mark my 63, which is the number. And so since I know that I counted in intervals of 10% here in the top, I know that there are 9 intervals here. So I want to know how much in each interval here. So that would just be 63 divided by the 9 different intervals, which would be 7. So I know that each of these intervals needs to be 7. And again, how did we do that? We knew there were 9 intervals. So 63 divided by 9 is 7. So I count by 7. Try to squeeze those in there. Okay. And then the answer is 72 was the full entire number. All right, number 2, we have 80 is 25% of what number? So again, we're going to work with percentages and the double number line. So we have 80 is 25% of a number. So we'll have 0%, 100%, and I know I want to be able to go my increments to go into 25% and then 100%, which is very basic. We're just counting by 25%. I like to find the middle, make that my 50%. Okay, and then line up those tick marks underneath. 0% will line up with 0. And in our problem, they tell us that 80 is 25%. So I'm going to go ahead and line up the 80 with 25%. So that makes it very simple because that's our first interval. So we know that these intervals are going to be increasing by 80. So 80, 160, 240, and 320. So 80 is 25% of what's the whole? 320. Okay, number 3, for 3 and 3, 4, 5, and 6, we are asked to use the percent proportion to solve these problems. So 22 is 44% of what number? So when I see the 44%, I'm going to go ahead and write that as 44 over 100 and set up a percent proportion. 22 is 44%. So that's the part they're telling you 22 is 44%. It's not the 100%, it's the 44%, which tells us that it has to go in the numerator. and then out of what number. So this is the number that we're looking for. And so I want to be able to go from 100 to that number. I'm looking for the relationship. So I look in my numerator to see what relationship is happening there. And we need that same relationship in the denominator. So to get from 44 to 22, we need to divide by 2 in the numerator. So we would follow that same, see if I can zoom in a little bit. That same procedure in the denominator, divide by 2 to get 50. So 22 is 44% of 50. Number 4, 450 is 75% of what number? So when I see that 75%, I'll write that as 75 over 100 and set up my percent proportion. The 450 is 75% of something, so it goes in the numerator. Okay, so now I want to know, what do I need to multiply it by to get from 75 to 450? So I just work backwards and I do 450 divided by 75. Okay, I know 75 will go into 150 twice to give me 150, and then 4 times will give me 300. So that is going to go in 6 times. And then we can just double check that. 6 times 5 is 30. Write the 0, carry the 3. 6 times 7 is 42, plus the 3 we carried is 45. So we just check our division there. So this was times 6 in the numerator. So we also need to multiply times 6 in the denominator to get 600. So 450 is 75% of 600. Number 5. A store is having a sale where clothes are 60% of the original price. A sweater is on sale for $30. What was the original price of the sweater? So it's not 60% off, it's 60% of. So the prices are 60% of the original price, which means they're 40% off. Okay, so we're paying the 60%. So the 60% can be written as 60 over 100. So the 60% is what we do pay, and we do pay $30. So that goes in our numerator. Okay, and we can see that that's a divide by 2 relationship. So we want to divide by 2 in our denominator, just like we did in our numerator. So that means our original price of our sweater was $50. Our sale price is $30. Number 6. Kai calculates that he spends 15% of a school day in science class. If he spends 75 minutes in science class, how many minutes does Kai spend in school? So the science portion of the day is 15%, and the science portion of the day is 75. So if I count by 15 or do 75 divided by 15, I know that is 5. 5 times 15 gives us 75. So then we multiply by 5 here to get 500. Okay, so 500 minutes total in the school day. 75 minutes of those were spent in science class. All right, and then for exercises 7 through 9, use the table at the right. So let's take a look at the table before we start. So this is a recipe for punch. The recipe has 40% ginger ale, 25% orange juice, 20% pineapple juice, and 15% sorbet, which is like an ice cream type of dairy-free ice cream. If you have 3 cups of pineapple juice, how many total cups of punch can you make? All right, so pineapple juice is 20%. Okay, so if that's your limiting ingredient, okay, how much punch can you make altogether? So 3 cups is pineapple juice, and pineapple juice accounts for 20% of your recipe. So how many cups can you make altogether? So let's see here. We have 20% is 3 cups. So here we're going to look at the relationships a little bit differently. 3 does not go evenly into 20. So I'm actually going to look at my relationship numerator to denominator. Okay. So 20 goes into 100 5 times. So to get from my numerator to denominator, I multiply by 5. So here, to get from my numerator to denominator, I multiply by 5, 15 cups total. Okay, so I can make 15 cups of punch. Number 8. How many cups of sorbet are used in 8 cups of punch? Okay, so this one I don't think is going to go in evenly. Sorbet is 15%. Okay, so this is, I'm going to, just for reference, label my numerator sorbet. I'm just going to make another proportion over here to help me know what I'm talking about. And this is my total cups. Okay, so if I had 15 cups of sorbet, I would give me a 100 cups of punch. And then we actually are making 8 total cups of punch. Okay, and this doesn't go in evenly. 8 doesn't go in evenly into 100. 15 does not go evenly into 100 either. So I can't use either of the other strategies. So we're going to use a cross multiplication strategy. So in proportions, like if I had, I'm just going to work over here at the side of this page just for a quick minute. Like if I had 1/2 equals 4/8, we can see all those really nice relationships, right? Double the numerator to get to the denominator, double this numerator to get to this denominator, times 4 to get from this numerator to this numerator. So I multiply times 4 to get from this numerator to this numerator. So we've looked at all those nice relationships and proportions, but the one thing we have not yet talked about in proportions is that the cross products are equal, and we can use this to get a nice proportion, to get a nice equation. I can do 4 times 2 to give me 8, and I can do 1 times 8 to give me 8. And in proportions, those cross products are always going to be equal. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. We have 15 times 8, and you can do that on the side if you wish. That's 120. Oops, I wrote an extra 0 there. So 15 times 8 is 120. And then this is our unknown, so I'm just going to call that x. So 100 times x is 100x. So this gives us the equation 100x equals 120. Okay, and again, how did I get that equation? I just multiplied my cross products. 100 times x gives me the 100x. 15 times 8 gives me the 120. So that gives me the equation 100x equals 120. Then divide by 100 to solve that one-step equation to get x equals 1.2, because 120 divided by 100 is 1.2. So we get 1.2 cups of sorbet. Okay, or 1 1/5 cups of sorbet. Okay, number 9, Elise does not like sorbet, so she omits that ingredient and adds 5% of each of the other ingredients. Okay, so let's take we're gonna have a variation for Elise. Doesn't want to have sorbet. So in our table, let's just go ahead and Elise's variation here. Okay, so she isn't having any sorbet at all. So this is going out 0%. And then she adds 5% onto each of the other ingredients. Okay, so ginger ale in Elise's variation is going to be, it's not focusing really well. Let's see if that helps a little bit. 45%, 30%, and 25%. Okay, is Elise's recipe. And how many cups of punch will she have if she uses 6 cups of orange juice? So orange juice in Elise's variation is 30%. Okay, so orange juice cups of punch. Okay, so her portion of orange juice is 30%. So 30 over, sorry, I was off the screen a little bit, 30 over 100. And she's using 6 cups of orange juice, so that goes in our numerator. And then how many cups of punch will she have altogether? Okay, so to get from 100 to here, we look in our numerator for the relationship. To get from 30 to 6, we need to divide by 5. So to get from 100 to our answer, we need to divide by 5, which would be 20. So 20 cups of punch. Okay, and so that is how we can use percent proportions to help us to solve proportional reasoning problems.